Good morning. My name is Steve LeCagnon. I am the current president and CEO of the Morgantown Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're here today for the purpose of presenting candidates to the public, for candidates for City Council. Um, this is your opportunity for the next 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the City of Morgantown and to tell them a little bit about yourself. Please take it.
So my name is Jenny Celine. I've been on City Council for 10 years. I retain my enthusiasm and for Morgantown and for the position that I currently hold in the 4th Ward on City Council, and I'm asking for people to consider voting for me again. I moved here about 24 years ago with my family. I have a husband, Steve, and 3 children who are now grown, and so they're in their 20s, and now I have a 2-year-old grandson. So I'm becoming more familiar with some of the toddler issues in Morgantown. I have always been a big supporter of both the neighborhood side of Morgantown and the business side of Morgantown. I am in favor of infill development and quality development in Morgantown, and I'm also in favor of retaining the excellent character of our neighborhoods and working on issues like improving our parks department, which I currently serve on, and on their board, and other issues in Morgantown to make it one of the best possible places to live, both in West Virginia and in the entire United States. So as everyone knows, we're a college town. We also have a significant hospital and federal facilities, and we also have a nice business climate. So I'm happy to be here with the Chamber and talking about the issues that matter to the Chamber and that matter to the citizens of Morgantown.
Thank you. Our first question for you today is concerning the transportation bill, also known as House Bill 4009, passed by the West Virginia legislature in March of 2016. As you may know, it is a priority for the Morgantown Area Chamber of Commerce to obtain voter approval of a 1% sales tax increase authorized by the bill to improve roads and related infrastructure in Montague County. What, if anything, will you do to publicly promote and advocate for voter approval of the proposed sales tax increase for this purpose?
So a tiny bit of background about me. I have been on the Transportation Committee through this process, so I advocated at the legislature with a group from the Chamber to bring about this possibility of 1% in our county. I also have been recently down with the Chamber and trying to continue this process, and there's some concerns that if the legislature approves an 8% sales tax, that we may have to be working on other angles besides this 1%. But as far as the 1% goes, right now the Transportation Committee is working on kind of the overall plan, and I'm part of that group, and I'm participating in that group. I also am concerned that we look at how this impacts municipalities, because right now I serve on municipality council, and there are other municipalities in our area, as well as the county. So I think we need to really step up and all work together to develop this plan so that it is something that voters will approve and we will have the benefit in our area, because we are one large area and we need to figure out how best to work together and how best to make sure that we get as many roads done as well as possible, and also figure out ways that we can leverage state funds. So the way that this 1% will work the best is if we can leverage state funds and federal funds for our roads. So we would hopefully still retain whatever allocation we would normally receive from the state, but we would use this 1% to get some added benefits in our area as a big economic engine and important area in our state. So thank you.
Thank you. The concept of an alliance housing the Morgantown Area Chamber of Commerce, Main Street, Morgantown, Sunnyside Up, Montague County Development Authority, and the Morgantown Area Economic Partnership, as well as the Greater Morgantown Convention and Visitors Bureau under one roof in a central location in Morgantown, is a priority for the Chamber of Commerce. What will you do, if anything, to publicly promote and advocate for this to become a reality?
So my understanding is a similar concept that's the Alliance in Charleston has been a huge success for that area. And I would certainly advocate for these groups to plan and work together while still making sure that their separate functions continue in our area. I think that all of these groups are very, very important here, and I would want to make sure that their separate functions would still continue. I've attended just a few meetings about this issue, and I've asked questions, and I know that they're working on kind of refining the concept as it applies here. As far as some of the benefits to our area if this would come to pass, and some of the actions that I would advocate for would be cost efficiencies, some of the increased benefits and outputs for the community that could happen if we have these organizations all kind of working in some of the same directions. I think that we could possibly serve more individuals, neighborhoods, businesses with these services, and also kind of maybe by having them work together, share some of the lists that they work from, and share some of the ability to have events or have public hearings or have different moments when they need more than the one or two persons that work with each organization now. I think that could be a huge benefit, and also coordinating calendars and some of the other opportunities that we could have. So I don't know whether it will all happen at once. I'm sure that's the goal, but if it could happen in some steps or some maybe not everyone can get out of their lease at the same time to occupy a building at the same time, but if it can't come across perfectly right at the beginning, I would hope that over time people could figure out ways to work together. Thanks.
Thank you. What will you do privately and publicly to promote and advocate for the consolidation of local governments in Morgantown, Granville, Westover, and Star City into a single metro governmental entity?
Now there's a task. My understanding of this process and looking at it from a state level and then going back to the local level, I know that at the state level they're looking at consolidation of potentially of counties and also consolidation of cities. And the idea of metro government can be at an even larger multi-county scale, and can work kind of in layers with other layers of government. So it could be that we will end up at some point with a metro government that would include several counties, and that would allow us to apply for large projects. I like to see how we can figure out how to think big. And so looking at infrastructure, looking at roadways, river projects, bridges, large water and sewer projects. Some projects we're not eligible for right now due to our smaller scale compared to other places in the country. On the local scale, we would need to meet with our fellow cities who all have expansion projects underway. So we're in an era of prosperity here. And I would like to continue the prosperity by working together, but people have these large projects and TIFs underway, and we'd have to figure out how to work together on a regional level. Right now, we work with the MMPO on transportation planning, and we do that very well, and we include the bus system, the university, the cities. You know, it's in the county. It's a large group working together on regional transportation planning with lots of nice transparency and people being able to attend hearings and learn about what's going on. I've read some of the historical ideas of Brooks McCabe and heard him recently in Charleston speaking on the subject. And there are a lot of important aspects, once again, such as pooling technology, services, efficiencies. But he talks about not pushing so hard that we drive entities away from the idea. So somehow I think we need to figure out some basic beginning steps and areas for cooperation, we haven't had the important conversations at the local level yet to take advantage of this possibility. So I'm hoping that we can have some look at some examples in other areas, work with our constituents, work amongst the cities, just have the cities sit down together and have conversations, and I'd be willing to advocate for all of those things and I cannot guarantee results, but I would definitely guarantee some effort in this direction.
Next question, will you publicly support the idea of using some of the money generated by Morgantown's user fee to improve state-owned roadways that run through the city of Morgantown?
So on the basic level, I voted to increase funding specifically for roads in Morgantown. And I believe that we've already allocated some funds to improve state-owned roads, specifically I think Dorsey Avenue, Windsor, and we would need to further work with the state and the DOH to move that further. We could have some impact on the state roads by putting in some of our own funds, but obviously we don't have the funding currently available to cover the state's obligation in our area. We're working on 80 streets right now between last year and this year, and we're very proud of that, but I think we could make some impact on state roads, and I know that different times we've definitely patched state potholes, depending upon what the DOH thought and whoever our city manager was at a given time. So I think that we could work on that, but it will not cover the obligation that the state has in our area.
Our final question for you today is, what ideas do you have to improve economic development and create economic activity centers within the city of Morgantown, since most of the economic development has occurred outside of Morgantown's city limits within the last 10 years?
So right now we have a certain size of city. We have pretty small city limits compared to the growth that's going on around the city. So first area that we've been working on and that we will continue to work on is infill development, redevelopment in certain areas. We've been working with the Brownfields group on some of the level 1 and level 2 studies so that property can be redeveloped, so that we know if there happen to be contaminants there or not, which often it looks more daunting than it is, and so then it makes the property more ripe for redevelopment. The airport, we're working on a huge park there. It started off with the concept of 95 acres, and now it will be 300 acres or so, I understand. And some of these areas, like for instance the Airport Commerce Park as one node, we'd be capitalizing on the airport. We could look strategically at some interconnected businesses that have to do with international trade zones or other kinds of possibilities where the businesses are interconnected and we can take advantage of having this large space. Then we could also look at some annexation of adjacent areas and methodically bringing those areas into the city. They often take advantage of city services, and so to have an area just outside the city, I think we should be methodically inviting businesses in, working with businesses. We have different business areas currently in the city, such as in Saberton, and that area has been recently organizing a little bit over the last couple of years. They put up some Christmas lights and did some things working together. Evansdale has a huge number of employers in that area, and I think we need to work with them to see, for instance, they've mentioned recreation as an issue, that if their employees would prefer to be recreating in another area, we could lose that business to another place. So we need to up our game, up the city's game, and also work on connections between, say, the university and some of the adjacent businesses, so that there isn't a guardrail in between and people can walk and get back and forth to use the businesses that are in the city.
Thank you. We would appreciate it if you would now take this opportunity to tell the citizens of Morgantown whatever you would like to tell them concerning your candidacy, yourself, or some of your other ideas.
Well, I'm someone who works with a diverse group of people. I work with the Chamber of Commerce. I work with Parks and Recreation. I'm interested in retirees who are wanting to live and retire in Morgantown. I'm also interested in young families and meeting their needs. I'm very excited about waterfront development, which I didn't get to talk about in that last question as much as I might, but I'm really interested in riverfront development, and there's sort of a hole in the Wharf District and figuring out how to revitalize that TIF and get more business activity going on there. So I can see that there's lots of opportunity in Morgantown, and there's lots of promise, and I think we just need to work together with all of the different entities that are here and make sure that we can move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.